Guys? How goes the Wednesday? The fucking fantastic Wednesday. Man, last week of football for me, possibly. We had a practice last night, and half my team didn't show up to practice, and it's starting to get worse as the season comes to an end. Parents are stopping bringing their kids to practice, man. I know I bitched about it yesterday, but yesterday was even worse than Monday, man. I'm supposed to be getting these kids ready for their last game of their season and potentially the playoffs. And I'm trying to implement. Right now, I run a one safety set, but the team we're supposed to go against in the first round of the playoffs passes a lot. And I'm trying to bring in a two safety set so I can teach my cornerbacks short thirds and my safeties deep thirds or mid to deep thirds. But I can't do that if parents don't bring their kids to practice. So if you are a parent of a sports, or man, it doesn't even have to do anything with sports. You send your kid to school. You make sure they get to school. You force education. Because you know if they miss one day of school, they're going to fall behind for that one day of school. If you have a tedious job where you have to do a lot of small things, maybe not one big thing, but a bunch of small things, and you miss a day of work, you fall behind at work. Football practice ain't any different, man. Football is constantly evolving, especially at this age group. I'm constantly adding new stuff and trying to teach them new things. And it's like they miss a lot of these kids miss 2 practices a week. I only have 3. A lot of them miss 2 practices a week, man. And it's mind-boggling. You know? Whatever. Let's change the subject because I'm gonna get irritated. And this vlog is supposed to be therapy for me, right? It's supposed to relax me and calm me down. I start thinking about the football disaster, and not disaster, just not as much participation as we need at football practice. And one of our losses actually came from no one showing up to practice. Like we went to the game 2 Saturdays ago, and the whole week of practice I had like 8, 9, 10 kids showing up to practice, and I have 20 kids on my team. And we went out there against not a great team, an average team at best, who only had 11 kids, and we lost 20-0, man, because those kids trying to run offense, and the kids are fumbling, and snaps are late, and kids are jumping off sides, and defensive ends ain't containing, and yada yada, like all kinds of shit, man. So parents and future parents, man, if you tell your kids, hey, you're gonna play soccer, don't miss. And obviously there's some days you have to miss practice. A kid's sick, you're late at work. There's excuses. There are legit excuses. But I didn't feel like it. My kid's already learned everything he needs to learn. And all these other bullshit excuses. Let's change the subject. I've been thinking about it a lot, and, voting was yesterday, and it made me think about, like, I didn't vote, but it made me think, like, if I was going to vote, what would be something to bring me out to make me want to vote? And I don't have a complex life, man. I don't have a lot of things that, the law holds me back from, or, whatever. I don't do anything that, I feel is wrong or illegal or, ethically, morally wrong. I don't believe in, I don't do anything. I just don't put myself in those situations, But I strongly believe that there's absolutely zero reason for marijuana to be illegal. And I think this is probably the first time I've vocalized this. At least on YouTube, I know it's 100. Like, I know it's the first time. On Twitch, I don't know if I vocalized it or not. And I know I tweet about it every once in a while, man. But I don't understand. Like, I'm looking at all these researches, and I'm looking at all the statistics, and I'm doing the groundwork, to form an opinion. And I just don't understand Like this country, when this country was founded and as we were evolving into a bigger, better country and whatnot, we put a lot of dumb rules and laws in place, back when we didn't know any better. But now we know better, and we're learning these things, and we're changing a bunch of things. So I don't understand, like, if we're trying to lower, right? We're trying to lower our inmate count because we have the most populated prisons in the world. There's not even a close second. And if we have the most populated prison, we look at, what are these people doing to get prison sentences? What are they doing to get jail sentences and all that stuff? And a lot of them are drug trafficking. So you got to look at the drugs. Okay, what drugs are they trafficking that's so wrong? Okay? And then you look at the drugs they're trafficking, and some of them have a high death toll. So I completely agree with keeping those drugs illegal. All the illegal pills, the cocaine, the meth, the heroin, all those drugs, man, 100%. Keep them illegal. Keep them illegal. People fuck up. Help them. Because I think if a person is going to prison because they have a drug problem, I think prison's probably the wrong place for them. I do think some kind of solitary thing, where they're around other people that are a positive influence would probably be more beneficial than putting them in a prison cell with people that are actually hardened criminals. Because I strongly believe that, drug addicts aren't bad people, man. They're just people that have made some bad decisions. And putting them in there in that prison with actual criminals, man, you're just you're taking those people that are vulnerable, and they're confiding in somebody that's a criminal, and they're gaining trust for the criminal. Now you're developing future criminals. You're creating future criminals. So how do we prevent people from going to prison and doing that shit? Like, I strongly believe that weed should be legalized, and then drug users, maybe not suppliers, maybe you keep the suppliers in there, maybe you keep dealers in there, you keep, whatever. Keep those people in jail or prison. I don't know the correct terminology, which one's which, but keep them away from people. But the people that are just users, man, that have problems, don't put them in those prisons with actual criminals, because using drugs, yeah, it's illegal, but to me that doesn't make somebody a criminal, man. Like, I don't know. I look at it as like they're just people looking for a quick fix. They feel like, most of them that I know, they started it when they were going through a hard time, whether it was a short-term hard time or a long-term hard time. Most of them started when they were doing that, going through a hard time. Some people are just born, like, some people are born with the addiction gene. A lot of people are born with the addiction gene. I have an addiction to video games. I really do. I find a game. I consider myself a gamer, right? And I'm going to keep going down this rabbit hole. But I consider myself a gamer, right? But I don't play a bunch of new games. And I think I just tweeted this too, is Red Dead Redemption 2 is the first new game that I've bought in the last, 10 years. Because I don't have the attention span to sit there and play all these new high-intensity games and all that stuff, So I pick a game that I can get good at over time, and then I fall in love with it. Like, my very first game that I was addicted to was Diablo 2, man. I played Diablo 2 for close to 12 years. Like, that's not an exaggeration, 12 years. And I would still go back and play it right now. Like, I love that game. And then after that, Warcraft 3. I played Warcraft. Well, in between that, I won't say after that. In between that, I played Warcraft 3 for 2 years. I got very competitive in Warcraft 3. Another great game. Let's see what happened after Warcraft 3. There was a hiatus because I was going through a phase of my life where I was, turning into a dad and being a responsible adult and parent and all that shit. And I thought that quitting gaming was the right thing to do. And I still feel like reducing the amount of gaming because I was waking up, getting on the gaming all day, neglecting my kids, doing that. So I think reducing the amount of gaming that I was doing significantly helped me as a human being, as a father, as a dad, as a spouse, as a Marine, as everything. Reducing the amount of games. So quitting was probably the best thing for me to do there. But now I found this even balance, man, where I can play a couple video games, I can hang out with my friends, I can participate in sporting events with my kids. I take my kids out, do whatever they want to do. I try to spoil them. I stay on top of their homework. I can do all that stuff because I have an even balance. And I think that's what the allure is to sticking to one game for me. Because I don't have to drop hours learning how to get good at a game. Whereas like League of Legends, I've been playing it for 5 years now. I can turn on League of Legends, hit start, and play any champion in the game because I've been playing it for so long. And that it's a comfort game. And it helps out, So I think that's why I get wrapped up in League of Legends, man. But so to bounce back out of this rabbit hole, we talked about video game addiction and drug addiction, and drugs should be illegal, but not weed, because I don't think weed should be an illegal thing, because there's minimum negative side effects. There's less side effects to weed than there is for alcohol. And alcohol's been legal for, a while now. So let's get on the fucking, the train and fix this, what I consider to be a problem. And I think it was Jesse Ventura back in the early 2000s up in Minnesota. He legalized having up to a gram of weed on you. He legalized it. He legalized that and made it taxable. And then he legalized prostitution and made it taxable. And where he was at, I can't remember if he was a governor, mayor, whatever. Because I did this research in high school time frame. His crime rate dropped so significant just overnight. Like that first 6 months, they were like getting national recognition for the level that the crime rate had dropped. And that was back in the early 2000s. Then you look at Colorado. Colorado legalized weed. And we're talking about, our country's in so much debt and yada, yada, yada. How do we fix it? All that shit. Colorado made so much money selling weed. Made so much money. They were giving money back on taxes because of the amount of money they made just by taxing weed. And I think it's crazy, man. Like, we got these problems we're trying to fix. Like, we feel like our teachers are underpaid, our law enforcement's underpaid, our military's underpaid, our blah, 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 blah. Put a 5 or a 10% tax on weed because people are going to pay it. Just like cigarettes, you tax the shit out of cigarettes. People kept buying cigarettes. The cigarettes have the same negative side effects in my eyes that weed does, right? You tax it, and you take that percentage that you tax, and you put it into the school system. You put it into law enforcement. You put it into this. You put it into that. Politicians, and you won't hear me say this very often, but politicians know where to put that money, man. Some of them might take that 1% and put it in their pocket. But I mean, even if they take 9% of that 10% and put it into somewhere, this country is gonna prosper, man. Like, it's gonna be beneficial. So, legalize it, tax it. The country will pay for itself. You'll produce jobs because farmers can start growing it and shit. That's probably a minimum, consideration, because I don't think it's going to produce a whole lot of jobs. But I mean, it does at the same time. Yeah, and then you reduce your prison counts, man, like your inmate counts. It's 100. To me, and I'm sure there's a 10% negative incantation to, legalizing it, man. Yeah, I know, supporting the war on terrorism and, bullshit. I'll tell you, terrorists are gonna, and this is another rabbit hole, but terrorists are gonna find a way to fund their shit, man. I don't think. I think if you legalize weed, you legalize it 100% across the nation. Weed's no longer illegal. The gangs are going to stop using it because it's going to be cheaper to sell it through the pharmaceutical companies, through distributors. It's going to be cheaper for them than it will be for a criminal. And if the criminal's selling it and he's competing with those companies, then, find a way. Get these dealers' cards, man. Get these dealers' cards so that they can legally sell it. So you can tax them. They can continue making money. You're not taking money out of their... you're taking money out of their pocket, but you're allowing them to continue doing what they're doing. Do some kind of regulation on, what they do. Set up an inspection, yada, yada, yada. It's just, there's so many wins that could be coming out of this, man. And people are just looking at it as, oh, it's always been illegal. It has to stay legal. It's the devil's lettuce. The Bible says this and the government says this. And it's just people are just don't want to step outside their comfort zone. To me, that's exactly what it is. The big pharmaceutical companies that are selling pills would lose out on billions of dollars, literally billions of dollars. That's a huge knock because pharmaceutical companies are the ones that are paying for, presidents to run for president and, shit like that. So I got why the government is dragging their feet, man, but it's so frustrating because it's pointless to me. But yeah, man, so I'll go ahead, give my daily shout out to Dunkin' Donuts because I'm drinking it and they're not paying me for it yet. Tech 9 reference. But yeah, guys. So I guess that's a two-part question for you guys. If you don't mind answering those questions, drop it in the comments, man. What's your thought process? Why is it illegal? Why is it illegal? What was the other question? Just why is it illegal, man? Answer that question. What, in your eyes, why is it illegal? And it's not illegal in all the states. So, if you're watching this from a state where it's legal, congratulations, your state is using their brain. But if you're in a state that's illegal, or even another country where it's illegal, what are your reasons? What do you think? Why do you think it's illegal? And what's the fix? What's an even balance to where we can make this work for everybody? What's an even balance, man? Because that's the big question that you got to answer, that you have to make people understand, man. Give them a reason to get on your side. Find an even grounds and get people on your side, man. So I'm sure that it's a matter of time, man, but it's just dragging their feet. It's hurting people like me with PTSD, man, where I have pretty severe depression. I have really bad TBI. That shit would help me so much. Like, I'd be lying if I told you I'd never smoked before. I'd be lying. But it would help me. Not just me, man. It would help. There's hundreds of thousands of people that are far worse than me that it would help. But it's all about that money, man, But yeah, guys, rabbit holes, we did them today. I feel like, this is productive talk. But until tomorrow, arrivederci.